Welcome back to another episode of Owning the Weight podcast. I'm your host. Joining me again is my girlfriend, Ashley Kumar, physical therapist and breathwork specialist. And we have been diving deep into how to thrive, not just survive. And today we're going to be talking about exercise and breathwork, particularly how it relates to stress. So let's talk about exercise. Everybody loves to exercise.
Yeah, not everybody, but a lot of people do.
Well, most people I know. So say I'm totally stressed and I'm exercising and I'm trying to lose weight.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, working out, think about it. You go to work, you're working, and then working out, you're still like working, right? So stress is still, or exercise is a controlled stress. So it still is stress.
Okay.
So I just think that if your stress bucket's overflowing like mine was, you're not sleeping,
And we're
you're
talking
eating a bunch of sugar.
We're not talking about like a little stress. We're talking to people who are in maybe possibly even chronic stress or
an autoimmune, like you're sick, you can't barely get out of bed and there's no energy. You don't have much energy left.
Can't lose weight. That
Can't
could be a
lose weight,
symptom.
yeah.
Yep. I mean, we're going to be talking with Dr. Bashima soon about hormones, so definitely stick around for that. That's coming out next week. But how your hormones are affected when it comes to weight loss because of stress. So we're talking today just about exercise. Let's talk about how it can actually do the opposite than what you're hoping for.
Yeah. So if you're just really, really overwhelmed and you're not sleeping and you feel really not so hot, you don't have a lot of energy. So just watch. I think that you want to be able to exercise and repair your body. But if you're so tired and you don't have the ability to repair your body, high intensity exercise and heavy lifting can sometimes be, a damage causing stressor of working out. So in that busy season, whenever you're really not being able to feel well, you need naps and you're not sleeping, I recommend restorative workouts as a better option versus, HIIT training and heavy lifting. So some different types of restorative movements that I really felt helped me a lot during my season because I didn't have any energy to lift. And if I did lift, I was so sore the next 3 days, I could barely walk. Like it wasn't uncomfortable. It wasn't even soreness. It was pain. Like I was in pain and I would get injured more. I'd hurt my shoulder would go to hurting or something. It's like, geez. But yeah, so I recommend more of those restorative movements like yoga. So yoga helps if you're really stressed. Remember the sympathetic nervous system in that first talk we did, it causes muscle tension to happen. And so because you're in fight or flight mode, so yoga is great to be able to relieve some of that muscle tension from your body and reduce some stiffness and tightness. Pilates is really nice as well because you're working on your breath and your core connection, your trunk, kind of getting back to your central state of your, not just working your limbs, but more your trunk. Walks in nature. There's so much research about being out in nature, connecting to Mother Earth. So just going out for a walk is great to restore you versus deplete you. Swimming is good. It's like giving you a big hug, being in the water, all that buoyancy and that water all around you. Swimming is very fluidic and flowy versus forceful. Breathwork is great. We'll talk on. And dancing is way underrated. But it's the best. You get the highest release of oxytocin, which is the love hormone, and happy hormone. And so if you're releasing oxytocin, it's like a link effect of all the other hormones get released because oxytocin's released. And then Tai Chi or Qigong is also great because you're fluidically moving. I think it's more of like thinking you want to flow in restorative movements versus force, and pushing heavy weights. So that's my recommendation. And I felt that through my own body. But we'll talk too about like whenever you come out of that stressful state, what's really beneficial for women.
So what I'm hearing is it's almost like if I'm stressed and I need to lose weight, let's say I have quite a bit of weight to lose and, I'm like, well, I'm not going to lose weight from yoga. I'm not going to lose weight from Pilates. Like, I need to burn more calories or I need to lift heavy weight to build muscle. Like, are we thinking like, hey, that's the next step.
That's the next step.
You are in so stressed out, so deprived. You need to heal your body first before you can get the benefits.
That's right.
Because if you just add on more stressors
stress to a stressed out system,
it's not gonna.
It's gonna hold on to the weight because it's like
so. These other forms of exercise that you mentioned, yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, swimming, walking in nature, they actually release some of the stress in your body by bringing back the balance of
So they're a therapeutic benefit for you
Got it.
versus like another
So
stressor.
and I'm not saying you wouldn't do these long term. Maybe the long term goal would be to have that and
yeah,
your intense runs or your strength training with your yoga or your Pilates or whatever. I can relate. I have a balance of that now. I feel like I'm doing more strength now than I have in the past. I had to step away.
It's because you're ready for it, right?
Yeah. As you were talking, I'm going, man, I wonder if I can start doing more high intensity workouts. I quit doing those about 3 years ago. Just quit completely. And I feel so much better. I would consider myself in really great shape for my age. And, but I miss the athleticness of going to the gym and doing box jumps or whatever. And I have a couple knee injuries, so I really haven't done anything, but I feel so good now.
Yeah. If you feel really good, it might be the time to try it. And then it's all about listening to your body. People are like, what should I do? And I'm like, well, you listen to your body. That's what you do. You try it. And if your body speaks back and it doesn't like it, then you stay in the lanes that
how do you know the difference? Because everybody kind of gets sore after a workout.
Pain. There's a difference between a muscle soreness, like the delayed onset muscle soreness, and 2 days post, versus pain where you get like inflammation in your joint. It keeps you up at night, that sort of thing. You know?
I've had that before. Yes, I know what that feels like. Yes. Once you've managed stress, what exercise is optimal for women?
Yeah. So kind of going back though first, I just want people to understand what happens to your body physiologically whenever you are like, why are you getting so painfully sore? You know, and why can't you lose the weight? So what actually is happening is, the stress stuff, but what is physiologically happening is you're actually causing yourself to properly be able to heal, right? So you get greater muscle damage and inflammation starts to happen. And then that stress hormone cortisol it actually further exacerbates your pain perception, and then it can hinder your body's being able to repair after that workout. So working out is you're causing micro tears in your muscles, so it has to repair. So cortisol actually increases myostatin, which can inhibit muscle growth, right? So it's like, oh man, why are we not growing our muscles? Well, because you're not able to repair it. And then 2, why can't you lose weight?
Do you think that's like your body's going, dude, I feel like shit. I'm deprived. I'm tired. I'm always in sympathetic. And now you're trying to put muscle on me. I'm not just going to make an effort to build additional muscle.
It's not important.
When I'm trying to keep the brain and the internal organs and systems working and everything's struggling.
Right. Yeah. Like just to make energy, right? So you're just adding on too much. So your bucket, like we talked about, is just like overflowing with water. And then the reason why, if you're trying to do a lot of HIIT training and you're just trying to lose weight, but you're really stressed, once again, cortisol, like that's why cortisol is so important. So that chronic stress triggers the release of that cortisol. And so then that hormone actually slows down your metabolism and increases your appetite, and it actually increases fat storages.
Oh my gosh, it's all the bad things.
Specific around the abdomen.
All the things we don't want.
It just makes it harder to shed your pounds during intense exercise. So that's why we must restore cortisol levels first, ladies, and then we'll get into the HIIT training and the weight training for to optimize, the female health as we age. So yeah. Sorry.
No, that's good.
I went back on that.
Thanks for elaborating.
I wanted people to really understand why. And then, I think it just helps them if you understand the why, then maybe you'll be able to change your mind shift as to not feeling so bad about like, oh, I'm not going, to do Orange Theory or whatever it is.
So you said, you were there. Now you're on the other side of this shit show. So you've kind of managed your stress. What exercises are you doing now? Like what's optimal for women once they kind of cross over the other side?
Yeah. So women really need to be putting on muscle mass, right? We hear that a lot. If you're into optimizing your health, it's very big and important to improve your muscle mass.
And why do you want muscle mass going into your 40s?
Right? Yeah. So it's going to help you prevent your aging before you get into menopause, right? So beginning at like late or really age 30 and then beyond, your body starts to lose 3 to 5% of muscle mass per decade. Depressing, right? So that can turn into sarcopenia, which is where you're skinny fat, right? Where you don't have any muscle and you don't have a whole lot of fat either. And then without having a lot of muscle, then you can go into having osteoporosis because the muscles stimulate the bones to grow. So that's why they recommend weight training and OsteoStrong and all that.
Mm-hmm. So, wait, you just kind of breezed over that. What is OsteoStrong?
OsteoStrong is a technique. It's a gym here in town. I think it might be even nationwide, but where they go in and they do wherever they find you on your strength grade, and so say like 80% of your body weight, and you just push as much as you can at a 1 rep max. So, I mean, I believe that you should definitely be, is that really going to do it enough? And there is research out that it does, but we really want to be loading up those muscles, because those muscles insert and those tendons insert into the bone. So whenever we activate the muscle, then we stimulate the bone. And then that's what can help to strengthen our bones so that we don't get this osteoporosis. So muscles really, really help you with that. So in future, whenever you start to feel more balanced, the goal is to really hit about 30 minutes of exercise every day, ranging into moderate intensity, aerobic, or AKA cardio, and then also some weight training. There's a really awesome podcast by Stacy Sims. I don't know if you guys have heard of her or not, but she's great. She's a PhD in exercise physiologist. She specializes in female health. She was on with Dr. Huberman on Huberman Labs, and she recommends for the aging female to prevent this osteoporosis occurrence as we get past and into menopause is weight training 2 to 3 times a week, and then true HIIT training. And I was like, I always thought HIIT training was Orange Theory. But no, she describes this HIIT training as maximizing your heart rate. So doing your max heart rate. So take your 220 minus your age and maxing out, you're getting your heart rate up into that range, 4 to 6 rounds, 1 to 2 times a week. So where you're, running as fast as you can to get your heart rate up for maybe, and you're doing hills. I run my hill outside, maybe for 60 to 90 seconds. And then you rest and you let your heart rate come back down. And then you repeat that 4 to 6 rounds, 1 to 2 times a week. That's really great because that's going to make your heart be able to stay in its max heart rate. As we age, you see that 220 minus your age. So think 220 minus whenever you're 60, your max heart rate goes down. But if you can hack that and increase that max heart rate and challenge it, then your heart is healthier as you age.
That's cool. I've never heard it explained quite like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then walking on your off days in that zone 2 cardio. What's zone 2 cardio? Well, it's 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. So around a lot of people is like 120, 130. And so that is on your off days, but really it's that weight training. So the only issue I do see as a physical therapist is a lot of people, or these women, I work at Palm Health. It's a holistic wellness center in Ladue. And I see a lot of 40 to 60-year-old females, and they're all trying to prevent osteoporosis. So they get a trainer and, they want to work out hard. And then who do they come and see? They see me because they got hurt. And it's like, okay, so we don't want to injure because we want to start small and slow, ladies. Whenever you're just getting started.
It's like you're coming in late to the game. You're 45 and 50 and you've never worked out.
Blown.
You can't start lifting weights like a 25, 30-year-old.
Or you are going to hurt yourself, and then you're not going to be able to play the long game. And Peter Attia states like the long game is where it's at.
Why can't women at 40 to 50 jump into weight training and start lifting weight like that? Like what is physiologically happening with their bones, muscles, tendons, and joints? Why they can't just start doing it that quickly? What's happening?
You say just going right into heavy weight training.
Yeah.
If your body hasn't adapted and it hasn't been prepared for that, possible also malalignment of joints while you're loading. So there's just a lot more possibilities for injury. If you never have worked out and you've never moved your body well, you think it's just going to move well. You just cross your fingers, hope to die that you just get in there at 40 and it's like, it's going to go, it's going to work. But that's the big thing is like, you want to move well whenever you're loading the body heavily. And so if you haven't worked out until you're age 40, your body doesn't know how to move well. So I think that's where people get into issues. But the biggest thing I think is Peter Attia says it well in his book. What is his book called? Outlive. It's another really good read. But we want to play the long game when it comes to exercise so that we can maximize longevity and minimize injury risk. So, if you are trying to just get out there and you hurt yourself and you're out for a month, you just lost a month of working out, so just go slow. I recommend like all my patients, I put you on this protocol actually for workouts. I'll create like the pain-free workout. Is also in Outlive. So it actually verified that I was doing something right, which was really, really nice, was you go to the gym and you don't just jump into lifting weights. You got to get yourself primed and ready.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do arm day, then you got to do some mobility of your T-spine extensions, rotations, shoulder motions, and mobilize. So first mobility. If you're going to do leg day, I still do T-spine always because it's so important and locked up on people. And then your hips, warm up your hips. And then the second component is core priming. I like 3 basic core exercises, quadruped, alternating arm and leg, aka bird dog.
Jeff Lavecchio makes us do all this
Jeff
stuff.
is awesome. Jeff knows the stuff. And
If you guys want to, if you want a trainer to follow on Instagram, he's incredible with like functional movement for athletes. He only trains athletes. I'm so lucky that I got it.
And he's smart because he keeps the athletes in the game because he doesn't hurt them because he does these things. Side planks are great. And then even, laying on your back and bringing your arms and legs up and reaching out. That's another great core exercise. So you want to prime up your core. You want to do at least 2 core priming exercises before you go. I like to add the breath in. The breath and the core, it's all connected. Your diaphragm and your pelvic floor are as big of core muscles as your abs are.
So then you're ready to rock.
And you're ready to rock. Then you can go into your strength training. And then, like we say, exercise as a stimulant kind of increases your sympathetic system a bit. So we want to down regulate at the end. So if you can give yourself 5 minutes of breath work at the end to get you back to parasympathetic so that you're not all revved up, jazzed up, you're hitting the road hard.
Easy way to do that is just find a spot on the gym, lay down, throw on like a kind of relaxing song and work on your box breathing, just relaxing, feel yourself melt into the mat. One of the things Jeff has us do is he actually makes us think of 3 things we are grateful for.
Oh,
yeah, so you just kind of calm in the mind, and then just relax there until the song's over.
Yeah, and that also helps probably prevent injury because you're not just staying in sympathetic state, so you drop back, you downshift.
I notice the times I leave the gym, like I'll crank my set out and I just walk out. My heart rate's like 125. I'm leaving the gym and I'm getting in my car.
Yeah.
It's 115. I'm driving home. Like it's still up there.
Yeah, just taking that time. So the 4 pain-free workout components I just want to review is mobility first, core priming, pick 2 great core exercises, not crunches, please. Strength training, depending on if you're doing upper or lower body day, and then finish with breath work. There's your pain-free workout. You're probably going to minimize a lot of injuries by doing that.
How does breath work actually calm you?
So a couple of ways. These are not all of them, but this is just a couple of ways. So by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, so the healing response, and that's through the vagus nerve. So I'm going to show you guys if this is
watching on YouTube.
Video. Yeah, watch it on YouTube. So this is my lovely lungs here. So the lungs and the balloons, and then the diaphragm is here. So the diaphragm actually is the vacuum that drops down and it pulls the O2 into the lungs as it contracts. People are like, well, how does that get oxygen into my lungs? Well, it's the vacuum effect. And then as the diaphragm pushes back up, the CO2 leaves the lungs. But what pierces that diaphragm and what pierces it is the vagus nerve. And all of your big arteries, veins, your esophagus pierces it, your thoracic duct, which is your main lymph duct that's in the trunk. But you have your diaphragm in a dome shape underneath your rib cage. And then you have your abs and your intestines in the middle. And then your pelvic floor is in the bucket of the pelvis. So ribs and pelvis, aka diaphragm and pelvic floor. So that vagus nerve pierces the diaphragm. And whenever the diaphragm contracts and flattens, the vagus nerve gets stimulated. And it's all about vagal toning, remember, for dropping into parasympathetic calming state.
So those deep belly breaths.
Deep belly breaths is one way, yeah. And then because of stimulation of the vagus nerve. And then also humming, singing, or gargling water. So if you're stressed before you eat, you could even gargle some water. And that'll also stimulate the vagus nerve as it comes out of the brainstem.
Is it just the vibrations?
The vibration. Mm-hmm. And there's all kinds of vagal tools. I use NeuroSim. It's one that you can connect to your ear, and it stimulates the vagus nerve, the kind of vesiculations as the vagus nerve comes off. And then that final really physiological reason why breath calms you, if you're doing the right kind of breath work, through the diaphragm, is through the CO2, carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is a relaxant, and O2, oxygen, is a stimulant. That's why hyperventilation, panting breathing will cause you to feel anxious and have a panic attack. So we really want to have these long, slow exhales, 2 times as long as our inhale, and breath holding, because we're going to increase CO2.
And that's
CO2
calming.
is going to relax you.
It's calming.
So, and
that's
that'll
right.
lower down your stress hormone, cortisol, too.
Chelsea had, one time we were doing cold plunge. It was like years ago. She had us do the Wim Hof breathing before we got in the cold plunge, and the holding the breath for like 1 to 2 minutes before you got in. And we were so relaxed. I remember that when I got in, I was like totally good.
Yeah, you don't want to do Wim Hof while you're in the cold plunge.
No,
it's a
we
little
didn't.
stimulating.
No. It was before we got in.
Yeah, it can help. And then I haven't really spoke on HRV, which I've really missed that. So HRV is heart rate variability. I don't know if any of you guys ever heard of it or not, but you really want to have a higher HRV. And so the HRV is the really measurement of the beat between the beat. So we want it to be high because we want to be able to have a varying heart rate. So like if we get stressed, our hearts go beat up. And if we're relaxed, they come down. But someone who say has a steady heartbeat and they say are on a beta blocker or something, and they just have a heartbeat that's the same all the time, the spaces between, or has a super high heart rate tachycardia, their heart rate can't come down. There's low variability within that heart, right? So the HRV is a direct measurement of stress. And so if you have a low HRV, you want to look at stress, I think is a big one. And so some things that decrease it are what we've talked about, but a big one is breath work. Sleep really helps to increase HRV. And then some of the biohacking tools that I'll be going over in the next podcast or two. And so I noticed with my biohacking stacks that my HRV was going whenever I was sick and like not feeling good. I was in the teens sometimes, like the 20s. I'm up in the 60s. Sometimes I can get to 80s. I'm like, what is this? This is awesome. But I can still get a really stressful day and I'll like wake up and I'm like, on my Oura Ring is where I'm finding this data, guys. But I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh my gosh, my HRV was horrible. And it's because the way I performed the day before. So, if you're super stressed out, then your sleep is, like I said, indicative of your health. So you're probably not going to really be able to calm down all the way from like that overstimulating day where you're just like still vibrating.
Wow. Dang.
So
do you, when you're doing like a workout, will you include breath work during the workout or just afterwards?
I breathe all the time with my breath work whenever I'm working out, but more of to increase the stability of my trunk through the exhale and to really lift that pelvic floor on the exhale.
If you've ever seen Ashley do her breath work class, which she has a 3-day, don't you have like a 3-day course that you give out
stress, for
free?
Yeah.
You see Ashley show off her abs in this course, or anytime she's doing any type of seminar, she'll pull her shirt up and show everybody her stomach, and her abs are ripped.
Yeah, and it's like I don't do crunches. I breathe.
It's literally from her breath work. Yeah, but you can. It was a really good teacher for me to see
it. That's how I learned first.
How she moves the air up and down and how it contracts. And so what she's saying is she just takes that over to her sets as she's exhaling through the set to just really kind of engage that core. So you're really getting like an ab workout every time you lift.
Every time you breathe and lift, yeah. So you want to exhale on exertion. I think of it as E and E. So say you're doing a squat, you're going to inhale on the down and then exhale on the up. Say you're doing a push-up, you're going to inhale as you go down and you're going to exhale as you push your body away.
So a lat pull down. What about a lat pull down?
So your lat pull down, as you pull it down, you're going to exhale. As it comes back up, you're going to inhale. You can vary that too, but there's so many techniques, but that's just an easy way to think about it is exhale on the exertion portion so that whenever you're exhaling, you're getting more stability on that higher load to your body. So you can get, that strength, that breath every single time. So then at the end, though, is more of a calming breath. There's many, many different breathing techniques, Jillian. And there's exercise breathing techniques, which I'm talking about while I'm lifting. And then there's the calming breath technique at the end to drop me in, downshift into parasympathetic.
Downshift.
Down regulate that nervous system, baby.
Wow. Cool. What else you got?
So yeah, I think we take the listeners through like a really good way to downshift into the calm state.
You're going to do breath work right now.
Let's do a little breathing.
Oh my gosh.
Breathing exercise, guys.
I didn't know this was coming, you guys, but I'll do it. Hey, I did breath work with another girl on my podcast years ago.
Yeah, we're just going to do a couple breaths, but I just want, these are the real science backed, because I used to think that breath work was like woo-woo and it's not going to work. And I was like, yeah, no. But that's where I had to dive into the science. So during this breathing, if you want to get like the most out of your breathing and really get into stimulating that vagus nerve, number one, you got to use your diaphragm to breathe. It's your primary respiratory muscle. So go ahead and take your hands around your rib cage if you're not driving. And the front fingers are going to go in the front lower ribs, like the very lowest of your ribs, okay? And then the back finger, your back thumb is going to go into your like 12th, 10th, 11th rib. And then whenever you inhale in, really open up the back of your throat in through the nose. You should feel your ribs move from the front, the side, and the back. But if you're stuck in a rib cage flare and you're in a stress state and you're all toned out, like you're not going to feel the back ribs move. And if you don't feel the back ribs move, your diaphragm's not working optimally. So you're not really doing the breathing properly. You're probably using your secondary respiratory muscles in your neck, maybe why your neck hurts. So number one, we want to make that diaphragm move all the way around. And then we want to try to breathe our breath in versus smell our breath. So now let's try this. Take a sniff into your nose. And don't you hear like it's like you hear your nasal hairs? It's like all just
your nose concaves too.
Yeah. So your nose does three things. It smells, it breathes, and it filtrates bacteria from coming in through the little nose hairs. But it also increases nitric oxide. So you're going to get more vasodilation of your blood, which is great. But your nose, we want it to breathe our breath in, not smell our breath in. That's for when you need to smell something. So open, instead of sniffing it in, open the back of your airway, your trachea. And this is called the Ujjayi breath in yoga.
I thought
ocean
it was
breath.
Ujjayi.
Ujjayi, whatever you want to say.
Ujjayi.
And so open the back of that throat, and it's almost like a Darth Vader noise. And this takes a minute, so don't be frustrated if you can't get this today, guys. So inhale in, it should sound like this. And the cold air will hit the trachea versus sniffing it in. So totally different feel. So you're tapping into your cervical diaphragm, which will help you fire your respiratory main diaphragm better and your pelvic floor diaphragm. So that's the second thing. Diaphragm moves properly. So your ribs are moving. You're breathing in through your nose, not smelling. And then once again, the CO2, remember, is a relaxant. So we're going to try to exhale 2 times as long as our inhale. And then if we can sigh hum on that exhale, we're going to get even more vagal toning. And so we're going to try this breathing technique with those components. We're going to inhale in for 4, hold for 4, and try to exhale out for 8. If you've never tried breath work, I wouldn't do that one first. Start off first. I would go 3, 3, 6.
Okay.
So you don't get frustrated. Sometimes your lung capacity might not be long if you haven't practiced it. So today we're going to try the 4, 4, 8. So let's go ahead with those techniques. We're going to inhale in through the nose, and then we're going to keep our mouth closed. And on the exhale, we're going to sigh or hum. So to sound something like this. Or just a sigh. So ready? Let's go inhale in for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. 4, 3, 2, 1. Exhale, let it out. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more time. Inhale. 3, 2, 1. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Exhale. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In the bathroom, you can go to the bathroom, you can really get your hum on. In the car, you can get your hum on. I know whenever you're like out in public, nobody wants to
relaxed.
hum. But yeah, it'll just really help you to feel just so much more calm. So that's my favorite breathing technique. There's so many people saying breathe, but nobody's really speaking on the foundations of how to use the diaphragm to breathe. And I think this just like turned into this like sexy thing of like, I know this technique, alternate nasal breathing, and this one, and holotropic breathing. It's like, hey guys, do you know just how to basically breathe though first? So I like to not overcomplicate it for the regular old Joe out there that just wants to do just something easy. So just doing that 4, 4, 8 and kind of keeping those components is really all you got to do, you know?
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank
Love
you.
it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I speak how to breathe out in the community, and I have like an actual course too called Masters the Basics of Breathing.
How do they get that?
They can follow me. You guys can follow me on social media, Healing with AK on Instagram and Ashley Kumar on Facebook, and check me out and see if you can't get a hold of me, don't have a social media account, then I also have a website, ashleykumardpt.com. It has all my good stuff on there, the courses, and then the biohacking tools, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, and kind of what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, and to help others in this passion project of mine.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being here.
Thanks
Guys,
for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast. This podcast is sponsored by Fit Flavors, your first resource in healthy eating. Stick around. Next week will be guesting. I think Dr. Bashima is going to join us. We're going to talk about hormones.
Yeah, can't wait.
Hormones and stress. So thanks. We'll catch you next time.